two, one. All right. On this episode of the 3 in the Morning podcast, I've got Coletrain here, or Cole for short. He's not only one of the longest time members of the group, but he's old as shit as well compared to me. And he's been here since the beginning. And I asked him to be on the podcast, and he just hit me with the I want to talk about spaceships. So I guess we're talking about spaceships. Cole, go ahead and say hello.
Hello, I'm Cole.
How long?
How
long have you been in the group, man? Because you've technically been in the group longer than me, right?
No, about the same amount of time.
It would be longer because let's keep the name of the school hidden, right? But you went to school with a lot of the people who were in the group, so you were kind of a part of this social group before it moved to Xbox, I'd say.
Nah, I only went with Jacob.
Oh, really?
Yep, and only for a year.
Well, shit. All right, never mind. I guess we started at the same time. I mean, you were in high school at the time, though, and I was
No. Middle school.
You were in middle school when it started?
Mm-hmm.
Right, I was in 3rd or 4th grade, wasn't I?
Yep, you were a baby child.
I was, but I've graduated to baby man, right?
Toddler man.
Toddler man. I've graduated to toddler man. All right, that helps a little bit.
Just a little.
All right, so do you want to keep it strictly spaceships the entire time, or are you okay if
where it goes? But we'll start with spaceships.
We'll start with spaceships. All right. Well, you've had some time to think about spaceships. What do you want to talk about involving spaceships?
In particular, not real spaceships, because as much as I adore real science, math kills me.
We could do both, just theoretically stuff like how Elon Musk may very well colonize Mars in our lifetime. That's cool to talk about. I think he can. I'm not saying we're gonna have a full-blown city on it, which will definitely be named Musk, but I'm saying we'll definitely have boots.
Going to die horrifyingly.
We will definitely have boots on Mars in our lifetime.
Oh, definitely, but they're not going to be comfortable.
Well, I don't think I ever said that. I just said we'd colonize it. To colonize something, you just have to grow food there.
Okay, Mr. Martian Potato.
Hey, I watched it. That was Matt Damon, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've seen that shit. That's all you got to do. I quoted it directly because I'm a loser. That's what I did.
We make one mistake and we're eating Vicodin dipped potatoes.
Vicodin dip? What do you mean?
That's what he had when he ran out of ketchup.
He dipped it in Vicodin?
Yep.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep.
But I feel like
the topic.
That's nasty, but it would be fun. The first couple of times.
Once you run out of condiments,
yeah,
you're willing to try anything to break the monotony.
Right. All right. Yeah. Back to what we were trying to talk about.
Now, hypothetical question for your audience who definitely can't answer me immediately.
Yeah.
Have you ever wondered why there are so many people on sci-fi spaceships?
You mean why in Star Wars and stuff there's so many crew members?
Yep. So in Star Wars you have...
Well, it's supposed to be based off of cruise, or not cruise ships. It's supposed to be based off of naval ships in the water in real life.
Yes.
Yeah.
But this is space. Sci-fi space.
All right.
We have robots. We have AI. We have all kinds of cool stuff.
Well, okay, which universe are you talking about?
Most of them.
Well, I know in Star Wars specifically, it's because we don't like to people don't like to fuck with droids because there's always the chance of sentience or malfunction type shit. Because in Star Wars, I think the reason people stray from droids is because they either have to be so stupid that they're ineffective so that they continue to be subservient, or they're so smart that there's always a risk that they rebel or something.
Yes, but there's an easy fix for that.
What's that?
But alongside Star Wars, well, we'll get there. Alongside Star Wars, you have Halo, and you have Firefly, and you have...
Well, Halo is straight up just why don't AIs just drive ships? End of story. You don't need anybody else driving the ship but an AI in Halo. But instead they have a huge crew.
Similar reason to Star Wars, they don't want the AI to have too much control, but there's a way to fix that.
What?
Now, for starters, in a military vessel in space, how many people do you think you need maximum for a fully crewed ship?
Without the help of uh, without the help of
With the help of
robots, with
technology,
the help of technology,
yes.
you don't need any. It could be issued orders from remotely. You don't need anybody at all. The only people you'd need is if the military vessel is trying to. I'm sorry for those listening. This is gonna be a real nerdy episode, or at least the beginning will be. But um, back to what I was saying. The only necessary human beings, assuming this isn't automated too, if it's a military vessel, is for invading other planets. Other than that, you don't need anybody. And if the ship is that automated, then so could ground troops be, and boarding
Yep,
troops. So you don't need
indeed.
anybody. It could all be robots.
So what happens when something breaks?
You get a smart robot to fix it.
What if the thing that breaks is the smart robot?
Well, you have more than one smart robot that knows how to fix other smart robots. I mean, ships are
Yeah,
going to break down at some point. Like, there's no
exactly.
100% foolproof situation. And you don't need
So
people to
let's
do that.
no, but in order to fix the issue, say catastrophic failure happens, you lose Wi-Fi in half the ship.
Right.
How are your robots going to do what they're supposed to do if they can't get any signal?
You said in half the ship. The other half of the ship would be working on fixing that problem, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm. But it would have to still get there.
Yeah, but I don't. I think I see where you're going, but I don't think humans are inherently the answer, because what if all the humans die? Like, the same what if scenario applies to humans too. And even more so because we're more fragile and harder to keep alive. We require life support, we require special suits, we require food
Yep.
that you have to bring. Like,
Yep.
machines are much more effective, and just having as many fail safes with machines would be more effective than having any organics on board to handle failure.
Yep. You're just using the humans as a secondary subsystem, just in case something breaks in beyond
So what, like
mechanical
like
action.
3 humans is what you need?
6.
Six. Why six?
You need a human pilot in the event that navigation fails.
A human engineer.
You need a human co-pilot in case the pilot fails.
A human engineer with a sub engineer.
Mhm. And then you also need a medic
Right?
and
A soldier.
no, you need an
Yes.
IT guy.
I think you need a soldier to keep the peace between them all in case there's fights between the crew.
That's what the medic serves.
The medic's gonna shoot somebody if they get hostile?
Not with bullets, no.
Oh, that's fucked. No, so let's make it 7. There needs to be a law enforcement officer, military police, if it's a naval vessel. And he doesn't have authority over others. He has a set of rules he's supposed to enforce.
Nah, that's what HAL is for.
Who's Hal?
Okay, in a Space Odyssey, there is a robot that covers all of the crew's needs.
Right? Kinda like the marine robot from Interstellar.
Yes, but this one ends up trying to kill the entire crew. But
Oh.
that's besides the point.
So what is the Space Odyssey? Is that a book?
It is, I think it's a book, but it's more known for a movie where they did the first practical look at artificial gravity in a movie.
Oh, I see. And
It's
it's called a
it has
Space Odyssey, written after Odysseus's voyage Odyssey
no,
thing.
no. It's its own thing.
No, but the reason it's named an Odyssey, that's where that word comes from.
Well, yeah.
Right. Because that's just like I was talking about with you and Jake earlier when we were playing Stellaris. I was referring to the Icarus myth, right? Like,
Yep.
yeah.
You on a Greek mythology kick?
I'm not on a Greek mythology kick. It's just when I see parallels, I see parallels. That's all. Um, I mean, and that's a constant pattern, especially in sci-fi. Somebody reaches way too fucking far, way too fucking fast, and the universe snaps back, right?
Yep. Every sci-fi ever.
Every sci-fi ever. And the good sci-fi novels and fictions and stuff are the ones where when we reach too far, we find out somebody else did it before us, like the Forerunners in Halo, right?
Hmm.
That's the kind of shit that Interstellar was missing for me. Interstellar was missing other life. Did you watch Interstellar?
Yep, it's the one where they end up going into the Tesseract at the end.
Something like that. It's Matthew McConaughey.
Yep,
Yep.
I
I
remember.
still get fucked up by that because I know the weird time dilation in space is real, and I finally, when I was a kid and I learned about that, it like ruined space travel for me. I talk about it in
The
episode
faster
one
you
of
go, the less time you age.
yeah, but not just that, because the way it happened in the movie was the mathematical equation of this ocean planet they went on, plus the black
Hmm.
hole being in the system, made time dilation like that, even
Hmm.
though they were just chilling on a normal planet, relatively speaking.
Hmm.
And
Um,
it fucked.
that's not that's not really how it works.
I know, but it fucked me up because I'm like, how could human civilization? I didn't understand it was because the black hole was right there in the story.
Mhm.
And I thought that's just what happened when you went to other planets. I'm like, how could human civilization ever colonize other planets if 5 minutes down there is 60 years over
Oh,
there, right?
it'll never be like that,
I know it won't, but
but
that's
there will be a difference in your circadian rhythm and your actual biometric clock is what I'm going to say. I don't know the right term for it.
no, I get that.
But if we were to be comfortably living on another planet, gravity would affect your body in a different way until so many generations of humans had adapted to it. The how water is made, what food we're eating, all of the things would have factors which would either increase or decrease our lifespan. More than likely decrease.
Yeah, I've read into what would happen to people if they lived on Mars for too long,
Mm-hmm.
and that's gonna happen because the first thing they
Danger.
plan on doing when they go is have kids, and we don't know how to make artificial gravity, so we know how to spin shit, but not on Mars's surface. And we still don't have that totally
Mm,
figured out in a way that it makes good artificial gravity. We don't know how to
yeah.
properly do Earth's gravity yet, how to simulate that. But from what I've heard, people are gonna look pretty fucking weird on Mars. Martians would look
Yep.
weird.
Our bodies will stretch out. Our cartilage will be thinner.
Yeah,
It's going to be weird. And
organ
Mars is only
problems.
like a third of our gravity.
Right. What's worse is if people live in zero gravity. That's
Oh,
much
yes.
worse and terrifying.
If you don't properly maintain yourself, yes.
Yeah, but it's almost impossible to do that from birth.
Oh, definitely
Yeah,
not.
exactly. We
You're.
do it on the International Space Station now. If you work out like
Yep,
fucking crazy all the time, it's good.
yep.
But what's the difficult thing? Because I was listening to a Joe Rogan podcast where they sorry,
Trademark.
Badger's
Uh,
texting us. I was listening to the Joe Rogan podcast where they he actually had somebody from the International Space Station on,
uh
and
huh.
he basically
Isn't
explained
that
that
dude with the mustache?
I don't know, but I was living hell at Walmart in the candy aisle when I listened to it, so I really don't
Uh,
remember. But what I do know is he basically talked about how you don't get to make gains when you're up there. You can only try to maintain, and you're still gonna lose a bit, even with the crazy workout regimen they have and the crazy diets they eat and all that shit.
yep.
Yeah, which is rough.
Humans are not designed for planets that aren't ours.
Nope. Um, do you read often? You read science fiction often?
No, I read more fantasy. I play more science fiction.
Right. I like reading both personally, but
Mhm.
there's a science fiction author named John Scalzi. I've talked about him before on the
Yep, I remember.
podcast. Yeah, he is awesome, and he writes a book series called The Interdependency. He's got two sci-fi series about like alternate history space civilizations from Earth,
Hmm.
and he's got one called the CDF series, which is about the Colonial Defense Force, which is it's basically the UNSC, right? But it's in
All
like
right.
a more Star Wars universe, so there's like way more fucking alien life in factions than Halo.
Gotcha.
And then he has the interdependency series, which may very well exist at the same time. He never answers this as an author. But the
Mhm.
interdependency series, instead of using these skipping abilities, which is kind of like teleportation that the CDF uses, they use like
Mhm.
hyper lanes called flow shoals.
Okay.
And the flow shoal to Earth like shut off a really long time ago. And they're in their own subsect of space, and there's not even aliens in that one. It's just humans. We have one Earth-like planet we live on, and the rest are all habitats around the void, basically. And it's
Okay.
massive. And in that, they find out that the flow shoals can like shut off, and that's like a huge part of the book's plotline.
Mhm.
And one of the flow shoals open back up to something that was shut off like 1,000 years ago, and they go back there, and the human beings that had been living on the void craft the entire time are they
Changed.
basically look like fucking, yeah, it's not good looking. Let's just say that it's not good. And
Yep.
yeah, and the interdependency, which is the name of the faction, like can't even, like, you can't even be in the same room as them and take off your spacesuit because your germs could like fucking kill their entire species. Or not species, but their entire race of humans.
Uh,
Yeah, it's
well,
like it's bad.
if they have different phenological differences, they're not the same species as us anymore.
Well, kinda. I think, aren't you the same species as? Okay, let's be careful treading into this territory. Just to start, theoretically,
Hey.
if you can breed with something, it's your same species. You're just a different subsect of that species, correct?
No.
Then what
For
determines
instance,
species?
a tiger and a lion
Right.
are not the same
They're
species.
both they're both part of the feline species, though.
That
That's
is
how I look
something
at it.
different.
So families, and that doesn't make
One
sense to
second.
me because there's difference in phenotype between different races of human, and I'd definitely say we're all the same species right now for sure.
Yeah, I knew this once long ago.
Right, because like for instance, Japanese people specifically are like the only humans on Earth that can digest seaweed properly and not have any of the negative effects with that, and they're definitely the same species as me. They just have a genetic trait I don't
Okay,
have.
all right. I
My
had to
my
pull up the
German Shepherd,
text.
my German Shepherd and a Chihuahua are the same species, but phenotype wise, vastly different.
Yes, but they are part of. I had to remember the long list of words used for taxonomy. It's been a long
What's
time.
taxonomy?
Taxonomy is the 8 levels of
Classification.
yeah.
Okay, of a biological
So it's
classification.
starting from the very bottom. It's species.
Right.
So all of the humans on Earth are part of the same species.
Right.
Then you have genus, which would include all of our
Subsex races.
close. No, that would
No.
be all of our closely related relatives:
Oh, so like Neanderthals and shit.
chimpanzees, gorillas,
Oh
Neanderthals.
no, we're definitely way more related to Neanderthals than we are to apes.
Yes, but they would still. Well, that'd probably be in family then.
Right, because I was about to say, I took a DNA
Our
test.
genus,
I took a
our
DNA
genus is
test the other
Homo.
day. I have Neanderthal in me. I do not have gorilla in me.
So when you do a name for for a species, it is their genus and then their species name.
Okay.
So our genus is Homo. Ha
Homo
ha
sapien.
ha 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 ha.
So our species is
And our
sapien.
species is sapien.
So what are Neanderthals? They're not Homo sapiens.
They are Homo. Let me see. Something I haven't done in a
Cause
while.
yeah, because what I'm struggling with is what in genetics all of a sudden makes something a
Scientific
different
name.
species. Because
Uh,
based on Neanderthal and human compatibility and how similar their morphology is, I would venture to say they had a common ancestor before they were two different species. which makes me
Correct.
want to call them the same species in just two different. If they
They
branched
have,
from the same spot, I want to call them the same species.
but they aren't.
Why not? That's where I'm struggling.
You
I've had
have
this
all kinds of
conversation with
different.
memory before with Austin,
Yep.
and it did not go
But
well because I was not understanding it.
Austin is anthropology,
He
whereas
is
I'm general biology,
right.
and we're going to be talking about similar things. But when your species, you can basically breed with no problems.
Right.
They have
It sounds like we did that with Neanderthals, though. Homo sapiens did that with
they're the
Neanderthals.
same genus as us, which means we can breed with them. It's just not as successful.
Okay, so let me think about this for a second. So let me think. So dog breeds, they're all in the same
Mhm.
genus, not the same species.
As of right now, yes,
Okay, so a Chihuahua is a different species of dog than a German Shepherd.
correct.
Correct. Okay.
But this is a much
What
shorter amount of
determines the
time.
variation? Because, for instance, uh, fucking the Japanese, like I said, are still Homo sapiens, and I'm a Homo sapien, but we have different morphologies and biology,
So,
apparently, to a certain extent. So,
yes, we're more adapted to our environment, and our ancestors' genes have affected us, as well as
yes.
their physical actions. Which is
Yeah,
why
but not
when
only are races able to mix biologically in Homo sapiens and have, like, no problem, almost none, right?
when it comes to science, race doesn't really exist.
That's what I
If
was saying, and I understand that line of thinking completely. But
Mhm.
because there is a difference in morphology, even if it's just color of skin, that's still a difference in morphology.
But there's
And
no
because there's a
difference.
difference biologically to a certain extent in adaptation, at what point do they become a
Mm,
different species? At what point is there a difference
they
between Neanderthals and Homo sapiens? What's the difference?
brow ridge. There's a phenological difference. They have the brow ridge that gorillas have. We do
Yeah.
not.
And what? So the phenological difference like has to be
Heavy,
common. It has to be common over the entire species.
basically.
Okay. Which is why dog breeds are different species because there's massive phenological differences between separate dog breeds.
Yes, because we've bred it into them.
Right, right, but it's because there's such a drastic change. That's what makes them considered a different species from the other one.
Yes.
Okay.
But you can still breed them together because they're technically the same genus, which is
Right.
why
Which is the same relationship we
wolves.
had to Neanderthals.
We can still breed wolves with dogs
Right.
because
Right.
they are still part of the genus Canis.
Right. So genus is more important than species.
Genus genus adds another layer.
Right.
Species means you're going to have less problems. Genus means you're closely related enough that you can probably do it and have offspring, but there's going to be horrifying genetic disorders.
And genus species gets broken down when populations are separated for a certain length of time and enough genetic
Mhm.
differentiation can happen. And then genus is broken off that times like 10.
Yep.
Okay. And so if Neanderthals and humans probably came from the same uh, common ancestor, we were separated just long enough that we could still breed, but also long enough that there was a massive phenological difference between us and Neanderthals.
From what I remember, the Neanderthals were able to take on colder temperatures than we were.
Well, there were quite a lot of morphological differences actually. It wasn't just the brow ridge; they were larger
Yep.
in
They
general.
were larger, they
They
had
were
thicker bones,
yeah, they had more hair.
uh, they had more hair,
Yep.
they had smaller but thicker fingers and joints.
Right.
They were bulkier, but they also had less space in their cranium.
Right. I think I heard somebody theorize once that Neanderthals might not have been able to speak language or something.
Oh, they definitely could, but it
That's what I
was
was
not with
thinking.
the same. It wasn't with the same I'm gonna say dexterity as we can.
Okay. That's interesting to think about.
Mm.
I've had a similar debate to this with Jake, and not about race. We're moving away from that now. Not about
Uh,
morphology or species or anything. That was the best way anybody's ever explained it to me before, though. By the way, it
mhm.
the way you just explained it made it very clear to me that there's a huge gray area in morphology and genetics where things can overlap. I didn't
And
know that before. I thought shit was cut off. You know what I'm saying?
no, it gets even more confusing when you go farther up, because after genius you have family, then the order, class, phylum, kingdom, and domain.
Right.
Domain
Domain's
being the
like
east.
mammals and shit, right?
No, domain is like animal, fungus, bacteria.
Oh, domain is like carbon-based life form type shit.
Yep.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
So if we were to ever find life that was not carbon based,
They'd have to
we
call it
would add
something
a
else.
ninth.
Right. But carbon-based even covers things like lithoids, like living rocks and shit, doesn't it?
Yep.
Right, because it's made out of carbon-based material. Yeah, whatever. We're fine. Um, God, this got real nerdy, Cole.
Well, yeah. What did you expect when you brought me in here?
Right. Yeah. I'm glad. I'm glad it's working out this way. Cause I definitely want to make it clear on the podcast that I can talk about like almost anything. As long as we don't get heavy into math, I can talk about it probably. But all right, what I wanted to move on to, let me might have eluded me. Oh, I argued with Jake and Anthony about this actually.
Mhm.
Um, where humans came from.
Oh,
I was like, it's pretty possible. I didn't say it was likely. I didn't say it was definite. But I said, theoretically, humans could have totally been manipulated by or planted here by aliens. That's what I said.
mm,
Very well could have been.
planted, planted? No.
Manipulated.
Influenced? More than likely.
You think more than likely? You think it's actually
More
pretty
than
likely?
well, that depends.
I've
It
seen
depends.
weird shit. I've seen weird shit in mythos from ancient civilizations that like almost completely convince me aliens influenced our evolution. Like
Could
almost
possibly
completely.
happen. But you could also go with the fact that people got high all the time in ancient times,
The stoned
and
ape
they
theory.
saw stuff. The Stoned Age.
Huh. So, all right, I feel like we need to do some more explanation for our viewers and stuff.
Mhm.
All right, so what I was talking about is the idea that aliens influenced our evolution, making us
Chariot of the Gods.
making us more intelligent or more physically capable or whatever was necessary to get us to the intellectual capable point we're at now. Basically the difference between us and like chimpanzees.
It's a
And
possibility.
right. And I kind of
But
believe in it to a certain extent. But and then what you were talking about, Cole, was the stoned ape theory, and it's that part of what influenced our evolution heavily was primates. The more intelligent end of primates started messing with psychedelics somehow, right?
well, some poor fucker had to try everything before we figured out if it was good or not.
Right.
And if you don't, you're going to try it because it looks good, smells good, tastes good, whatever, and you will suffer the
And might
consequence.
have a good effect on you as well.
Or bad.
Well, it would explain a bit of our dopamine-seeking addictive tendencies, wouldn't it?
Mm.
If so, if a primate before the invention of language, before our tactical way of thinking, before any of that, messed with a psychedelic plant and it was not an enjoyable experience, they probably wouldn't do it again.
More than likely. And anyone, if they were a social animal, they would make sure to keep the others away from it as well.
Right. But what probably happened instead is we found likable plants that produced likable effects, and now you have
Mhm.
entire tribes of prehistoric ape-like humans doing psychedelics, thinking outside the box, which could have changed
Uh,
us.
I doubt that changed our genetics,
I don't think it changed our genetics either, which is a bit of a hole in the theory, isn't it?
but
How did it affect our offspring to be smarter?
it definitely didn't.
But
If we're
then
talking,
how do we bridge that gap in the evolutionary theory then?
Well, we can say somebody or something came down and did what we did to dogs and decided to just pick some of us out, move us somewhere, and breed us until we were smart enough. Or, if we're going back to the psychedelics thing, chances are we didn't really start writing anything down until we tried stuff out. Because we have cave paintings of things we definitely know existed. And
Right.
if you've ever done any psychedelics before, which I doubt you have, you see some things. You see patterns that you wouldn't see when you're lucid. So I wouldn't be surprised if someone looking at something totally normal would see something out of the box and then draw it.
Right. There's so you believe in a little bit of both.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I mean,
See,
all kinds.
the only reason I don't believe in both side by side, or that both didn't have like an equal amount of an effect on us, is simply because if aliens manipulated us, then psychedelics aren't necessary in the
Oh,
equation.
they weren't necessary to begin with, but I'm
Right.
talking like mythology you started with. A
Oh
lot of the
yeah.
things you did see, chances are, weren't that real.
Yeah, but the kind of mythology I was referencing is you see in like ancient Sumerian carvings and shit. A
Oh yeah, there's
clearly
angels. Shit.
it's not just angels. There's clearly a depicted story in which human beings with tails sit on a large egg-shaped head god, and he plucks our tail from us and sets us back down, and we're like dressed anatomical humans.
Yes,
That
that.
seems pretty deliberate to me.
Yeah, but I
Plus,
doubt it would
Sumer
just
also
be.
had a fairly accurate representation of our solar system.
Yep.
That's nuts. Not only did they like know the position of stuff, right,
Well,
astrologically,
yeah,
but
but you can
they knew
still.
everything's a sphere. They knew we rotated around the sun. They
Uh
had
huh.
a lot of shit figured out that like Europeans didn't even have figured out
Well,
for a
yeah,
long
that's
time.
because Europeans would find it out, shoot each other in the head, and then have to figure it out again.
Yeah, I mean that is what the medieval ages were.
Oh, there was more
Dark
than one
ages.
Dark
I
Age.
know. The burning of the Great Library and so on. Yeah, I know.
But
Yeah, it's rough.
it, a lot of ancient civilizations figured it out. Right now, if you wait at the correct times,
Yeah,
you
but
can see the majority of the
Sumer was
planets.
the first, though, for the first civilization, or at least the first one we know about, to figure it
Correct.
out. That's pretty. And not only did the. Well, they're not the latest recorded civilization anymore. They're the latest one that we like have substantial knowledge about.
The
For
South American civilizations were similarly on track.
right, but it came much later, I believe. But
Hmm.
um, well, they might have been here just as long, but in terms of technological advancement, they were at that point way after
Well,
Sumer was. Because
think about it
they
this.
were at Sumer's point when the conquistadors arrived and committed genocide. That's important to understand.
Ye-
There's a big stagnation of technological advancement if they were doing the same thing
Yes,
side
but
by
you also
side.
got to think about placement.
What's up?
You got to think about placement.
What, did they have like a lack of metals or something
They lived in
geographically?
the jungle.
Right.
There are more things to eat you there. Plants eventually erode structures.
No, I'm sorry, but Tenochtitlan or whatever, the Aztec capital, was the largest
Hmm.
city on Earth when it was discovered by Europeans,
Hmm.
which is crazy to think about.
Because it
But
was
it had
maintained.
over 1 million people in it.
Because it was maintained.
So they clearly conquered, and they also had like floating islands and shit they created on massive lakes. Like they clearly knew how to master nature enough to not be stamped out by nature, which is your argument.
Yes, but what about the people that came before them?
Now that's possible. However, actually, where your argument about the South American civilizations being just as old falls through, is the leading theory right now that humans got to the Americas over the ice bridge during the Ice Age. That's where the natives
Mhm.
came from.
Oh, I doubt that.
The well, I kind of believe it a little bit. Um, but what we do know is the oldest civilization on record. We don't even know what to call it right now. its megalithic structure was buried in Turkey, and it's 12,000 years old. That's the oldest anything human we have record of, and it's called Göbekli Tepe. It's in Turkey. This is a fairly new discovery because it predates human buildings that we thought by like almost a ridiculous amount of thousands of years. This is new information. I talk about this with Austin a lot.
Yep, and I've heard your conversations.
Yeah. And what's weird about Göbekli Tepe is it's not just like some rock carvings. It's ornate. It's ornate, megalithic, larger than Stonehenge type structures, and it was buried on purpose, which is why it's the only one of its age that we know of. Which leads us to believe that there could have been much more 12,000 years ago that we don't see.
Quite possibly.
Right. And yeah. I do truly believe human civilization is way fucking older than we know. And I think we've just started over a few times with extinction events like the Ice Age.
More than likely. Although the extinction events in the Ice Age that you're thinking about were caused by us. And
what do you mean?
The warm weather. All of the megafauna was designed to be large to fight off large predators.
Right.
So, if you're designed
for those listening,
to be big,
megafauna are large herbivores. All right, continue.
Supersized.
Yeah, supersized herbivores like elephants would be considered megafauna, correct?
In this case, yes.
They're small megafauna, but they're still megafauna.
But for those of you who like names and to Google things, one of the more famous of the megafauna is
You said Paraceratherium?
Paraceratherium.
Yeah.
Which you'll know better as a Paracere.
Yep, from Ark Survival Evolved.
Yep.
Right.
They are one of the more well-known. You also have dire bears, dire wolves.
Oh, those predators were considered megafauna as well?
Yep, they were larger than the average size, and a majority of them lived alongside our more modern counterparts or their ancestors.
Right.
So, what happened was, as the Earth was cooling, animals had to move into different locations so that way they could get the proper amount of food. They were adapting to the warmth. The problem is, we liked the warmth more than they did. Megafauna were not designed for speed or endurance.
And ancient anatomical humans were able to run them to death.
We walked them into the grave.
Right.
Because
we can persevere anatomically more than anything.
Yep.
And humans have also evolved to like not have to eat for a week at a time. And so on. Especially our ancient counterparts who are way better at that. But yeah. Which is interesting.
It's just weird stuff all around for back then. Humans were not built the same. Our brains were smaller.
No, our brains still prefer it. So it's this 3 meals a day thing. I won't rant about my diet for too long, but the only reason I partake in my crazy dietary practices at all, the only reason I think it's remotely safe, because it's pretty radical, don't get me wrong, I do admit that, is because ancient humans who aren't that anatomically different from us had to do it all the time. And they survived that way. That's the only reason I give it credence at all. That's how I feel about it, to be totally honest. Your brain prefers ketones to carbs. End of story. That's just how it works. It is. The science is there. The only argument against it is being in keto is technically a type of starvation from glucose.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about... There was literal anatomical differences between ancient human and now human.
No, I know there was, but it's still the foundation of our evolution. There's still a lot of it that's the same. There's still a lot of the brain chemistry that's the same. There's still a lot of the dietary patterns that should be the same. Like, for instance, some of the more ancient civilizations started having a lot of the same problems historically we're having now because they got too agrarian. More grains, less meat. Like... Ancient Egyptians, for instance.
That's why most pictures are of people with bloated stomachs.
Yep. and that's the ancient Egyptians, especially the royalty. Fucking like the royalty were some of the most unhealthy people in ancient Egypt because of their dietary patterns because they preferred grains over anything else.
Wine and bread.
Yeah, and while the peasants actually ate high fat, high protein diets and lived significantly longer on
Those that
average.
could hunt.
Yeah, those that actually had access to said food did live longer. And I found that to be that was evidence for me as well. Now, somebody who doesn't have autoimmune disorders and whose metabolism works correctly can eat a little bit of everything and be just fine. Somebody who's more metabolically flexible, right? Me, on the other hand, I've got problems. Therefore, I have to try to simulate like a hunter-gatherer diet, even though I live in a first-world country and have plenty of access to all kinds of food, right? I try to simulate. I hunt one thing a day, is what I try to simulate with my diet.
I hunt this hot dog that I keep in my fridge.
I mean, basically, yeah. I warmed up rotisserie chicken today, and I'm like, I killed this chicken, which is why it's all I'm going to eat for 24 hours, right? But yeah,
I murdered this chicken with my bare hands.
Jacob is Honey Badger is going crazy about in this group chat with me, Nick and Rye Guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's going crazy about Biden's executive orders that are going to come out tomorrow about guns, apparently.
Oh no!
Well, the gun executive orders are kind of trampling on some constitutional stuff.
Historically speaking, we've lost more guns during a Republican's term than we have a Democrat's.
I don't actually disagree with that.
Yeah, historically speaking.
Yeah.
However, I also
Things
don't
change,
subscribe
though.
to the party system because it's a stupid system.
What system?
The party system.
I don't think we need to get rid of parties, but a two-party system needs to be eradicated. Hard.
But we can't because they're entrenched now.
Right. They're tumors under the surface.
Well, there is a way to fix it, but I can't talk about that on live television.
Well, this isn't television. And I fucking...
Let me live my fantasy.
The episode where the episode where me, Badger, and Jake were talking about this near the end of it, we all basically unanimously agreed, even Jake, who's like pretty damn liberal, right? We all unanimously agreed that there needs to be a massive restructuring of the party system.
I'm going to go a little more radical and say that the people who broke into the Capitol were not doing their job right. If you're going to be arrested, go all out.
Yeah, but be careful, because I know you're quite the opposite of a right-leaning individual, but those people were associated with the alt-right, and I don't want my viewers thinking they're alt-right. Because there's this narrative right now that like those who attacked the Capitol are so much worse than the riots that took place over the summer.
It's all equally bad. If
That's
you
what I'm
choose
saying.
violence,
I think they're
if you
both equally
choose
bad.
violence without any other alternative,
Then you're a bad guy.
then you're a bad guy.
And I'm not. I honestly, I don't even shit on the BLM movement for what happened over the summer. I shit on Antifa for using the BLM movement like a shield the entire time. They attacked private businesses. They attacked who they felt were the bourgeois the entire time.
There's just
yeah.
Every group has that little fringe that's ruining the name of the whole group.
And that's definitely what the Capitol Hill riot was for sure.
I do know the Capitol Hill riot was not just all right-leaners. There was left-leaners in there as well. Everyone went into there to raise hell, and they failed.
I didn't know that there were left-leaners in there at all.
Oh.
I knew that the fucking KKK was there, so like I just assumed most alt-right of alt-right was there.
No. Think about it this way. If you are Antifa, what perfect smokescreen is there?
No, yeah, I agree with you, especially if you're an anarchist group, right? Like, that makes total sense.
Literally, all of the groups that would have an interest in raiding the Capitol definitely did.
Well, if you... You're right.
That's the only way all of those people got in at once.
Mm-hmm.
Because you had police who let them in.
Stuff.
And there was already a warning, and everyone was out of there before it was all over.
Right.
there was absolutely no violence committed against politicians in the flesh.
Yeah. Well, that also makes me wonder what if it was orchestrated from the top.
I
I'm trying to wrap my head around if that's possible. Like obviously
well,
I'm totally wearing the tinfoil hat right now.
okay.
I'm totally
So
wearing the tinfoil hat. I don't like I'm not even 50-50 on thinking it was
if
orchestrated from the
we're
top, but what
talking
if?
if we're talking the top, the Don definitely played a role into bringing people in,
Oh, I don't
but he's
call that
not.
orchestrated from the top. Orchestrated
Well,
from the
he's
top
top
would be
at that time.
kind of. He was what was interesting about Donald Trump, regardless of how corrupt he is and shit, he wouldn't be the quote unquote, for lack of a better term, like Illuminati that runs shit.
Oh,
Actually,
definitely not.
definitely not.
It's
Actually,
definitely
whatever that
Congress and the
is,
Senate.
exactly, whatever the fuck that is, that shadowy group that controls things from behind the scene, whether it be the most powerful businessmen or the most powerful politicians or both,
It
whatever,
is. It is, and I'm going to say this with a whisper because
living.
I'm not suicidal. It was the Clintons, and
Regardless of who it is, they don't like Trump, clearly.
no,
Right.
but Trump didn't help himself with that whole thing either.
Well, I think if anything, he
There
was he was totally
are
just playing in. If it was orchestrated from the top down, Trump just did his role. You get what I'm saying? He's
there
using a
are no
pawn.
innocents in this entire thing.
Oh, I'm not saying he's innocent at all. I'm saying,
I know. I mean, there's no innocence at all.
oh yeah, our government.
None.
Yeah, tell me
Oh
about
yeah.
it. Well, I really realized nobody is true to anything after I learned that some of the most oppressive gun regulation to ever take place in government was done by Ronald Reagan.
Yep.
The assault weapons ban. When
Yep.
I learned that, that was the last nail in the coffin for believing in honesty within the government completely.
It's all give and take.
Did you hear about what AOC did during the Capitol Hill riot?
Uh, no, I didn't. I heard that she was hiding and
So
generally
I
acting scared,
for
even though
anybody
she's in no danger.
right, for anybody listening, I heard this off the Joe Rogan podcast. I haven't listened to a single
2020.
yeah. I haven't listened to a single news thing about this at all. But if people want to get upset with me for not getting it from the news, since when is the news credible? Ever?
Never.
Yeah, exactly. But what I've heard, all right, for anybody listening, um, AOC was in a building, not even attached to the Capitol building, right? And while it was being raided, she kind of proceeded to freak the fuck out. Went into another congresswoman's office, right? And was
Mhm.
was freaking out to her, and the congresswoman was just like drinking some fucking coffee, like not even worried about it. She was surrounded by a security detail, not even in the building getting raided, right?
Mhm.
And AOC flipping shit about what was going on because she was like panicking or whatever, proceeded to kick off her high heels and make this congresswoman's secretary give her her tennis shoes so that AOC would be able to run away. Let that
Weak.
yeah, let that sit in for a minute. Is that not the most ultimate elitist my life matters more than yours kind of shit like ever? She made a secretary, an underling, a subordinate. She's her boss, dude.
Rude.
Imagine, like, I think about like me at Walmart. What if like my store manager like wore high heels or something and there was like a riot or like protest going on and she made me give up my shoes so she could get away? Is basically what just happened.
Well, if we're talking hypotheticals and that were me, well, she just gave me her only weapon.
Right. But that's just few things I get less there's few things that give me such a guttural response than something like that,
Mhm.
right? And I might look it up now because that story is so crazy. I gotta see if it's true. I gotta see if it's true.
But Politics is just a mess
No,
altogether.
absolutely. It's just so corrupt. It's not even funny. But on top of that, I haven't seen anywhere else that's not just as corrupt. It just deals with less money because they're smaller countries.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just it's every day I think that there's some kind of super cabal running all of this stuff.
I don't think it's one big unified Illuminati thing though. I think it's a few groups. To be totally honest, I think it's a bunch of groups of super powerful people who just constantly vie for control over the
Yeah,
country.
but they do it in like a sitting at Dr. Evil's table kind of way. They're not friends, but they all keep each other in the loop.
Right, and I also think they all come from. Let me see. Is a fake tweet claimed Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has stolen
Fake
shoes.
tweet.
While the tweet does not currently appear on Ocasio's Twitter account, many took the tweet as shoes are making history. Says she won her seat in the. Nope. Let me look. And she tweeted about her campaign. Nope. She wore on the look on timestamp on story to see was last updated a week. I think it's true, is what this is saying. But Google's trying to bury it. Yeah, let's talk about that. What do you think about big tech and choosing sides in politics all of a sudden?
Well, when you have the option to get into politics and you are giving money to politicians, they were always picking a side.
Yeah, but it was never as blatant as like when they like shut down Parler. You hear about that?
Yeah, but there were additional problems with Parler.
I know there were additional problems with Parler, but like all of the big tech companies regulating all of them working together when they're not really supposed to be affiliated in that way to maintain their online monopolies is sus.
You want to talk about monopolies?
Sure.
Disney.
Yeah, so I don't quite think they have such a monopoly over the entertainment.
Oh,
Time out.
buddy, you
Hear me
don't
out.
know.
Hear me out. Hear me out. I probably don't know, and you can educate me. I don't think they have quite such a large monopoly that they like own all of media. But what I do think is how they are manipulated by China freaks me out. Same with the NBA and other organizations. That shit freaks me out.
Mhm. Well, they're manipulated by their user base. So the more people that do a thing, the more sway they have. Kind of like the whole Redditors GameStop thing.
Right.
As more people get onto the bandwagon, the more power they hold. Surprise, China has the most people on the planet. So you corner that market, they have the most sway.
Over anything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not by a little bit. China has like 1 billion people in it, right?
Look up how many people the United
Live
States
in
has
China.
in it.
Well, I know how many the United States has. The United States has 300 something million. While China, what's the population of China?
1.398 billion.
Whoa. So they have 1 billion plus us, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's.
And they're just slightly above India, which is smaller.
I didn't. India was the largest for a minute there, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
They have currently, as of 2019, 1.366 billion.
Hey, so what happened to India? Fucking, I heard about all this political strife and shit going on. It just disappeared from the news after Biden got elected.
Well, yeah, no one wants you to know what's going on there because that's where your shoes and iPads are made.
What's going on in India?
More than likely, a bunch of suppression. Because all of the businesses that go over there to basically get slave labor
Oh shit.
don't want you to know, and they want to keep their workforce working so that they can keep making money.
Right. Well, from the fucking Joe Rogan podcast, I learned that most of our iPhones are made basically through slaves.
Yep.
And like it's not just like for anybody listening, it's not just the iPhones like on the factory line being assembled. It's every ounce of that phone.
Yep.
The lithium,
From
the gold,
the processors
the
to
steel,
everything.
all of it. Every last bit of it was mined kind of through slave labor from third world countries.
And there's no such thing as recycling for that shit.
Nope.
They want you to give you the things back so that way they can fix them
and
for
sell them
easier.
again.
But all of the waste that is created that could be reused is wasted.
Right,
It
because
is
they make more money from just continuing with the process than they do from trying to reuse shit.
correct.
Yeah, because
So
they
all of
they have an
that,
industrial complex going with it right now. So the pipeline, it just has to keep going forward all the time. It's crazy.
everything that you hear is based off of a specific subset of information. So if you were to be told, for instance, that Amazon is going to be 100% green by 2022, they're going to be 100% green here.
Yeah, in the United States, not anywhere else.
Correct.
Right. Well,
So
something
it's
that fucked with me, right? I understand why
mhm,
he did it, but it's inexcusable to me. So like one of my favorite people in the social sphere right now, in the economic sphere, is Elon Musk, right? Even
yes,
liberals like Elon Musk, even though he's one of the richest men on earth, which is hard to do to a group of people who hate the bourgeoisie, right?
yep,
Um, the man is chill with China and the shit China does. And
yep,
the reason he's chill with that shit is because they give him like almost no economic pushback when he operates in that country.
yep.
And so I get the incentive. But it's not good enough for me. It's not. I couldn't, like, our country's corrupt and shit, but we don't literally have slave labor camps like they do the Uyghur Muslims. We don't.
Yep.
We
Muslims, Mongolians,
They're their own people to a
basically
certain extent. Their
their
fucking
own
social credit
people.
system, all this crazy shit going. Dude, they harvest the organs of political prisoners and sell it to us.
Yep.
Yeah, like I can't anymore. I can't.
It's
I
the
can't
world is a messed
believe.
up place.
Yeah, and then what got me on top of that is the only reason I know he's pro China at all. Like, I don't think he agrees with all the shit China does, but he doesn't denounce it either. The only reason I think he's chill with China, I mean, the only reason I found out about him being chill with China is because he talked fondly about China while this stuff was coming out on the Joe Rogan podcast. But what really got to me is Joe Rogan didn't call him out on his shit.
Well, yeah, because Joe Rogan makes money from these people.
I'm aware of that, but the whole. You don't understand. Joe Rogan is quite possibly one of the most. He's one of the most incorruptible individuals in the political sphere right now. Because he's really in the middle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And him not calling out Elon Musk really, like, changed my perception a little bit. Because Rogan talks shit about China all the time, but not when Elon Musk didn't. That fucked with me.
Everyone has their own internal system for choosing what is and what isn't okay. In his, everything that is, I'm going to use finger quotes here, good that Elon Musk is doing far outweighs the things that he agrees with and is doing himself.
And you're right, that is probably how he internalizes it. That does make sense to me. It, yeah, no, that does make sense. But I still wouldn't, like if Elon Musk wanted to be on my fucking podcast, I'd do it immediately. But
Well, yeah,
I'd ask him about it. I wouldn't sit here and be like, "You're a bad person." I'm not even saying he's a bad
uh,
person now.
you wouldn't question, you would ask,
Yeah, I would ask.
because there's a difference between questioning and asking.
What's the difference?
Well, when you question someone, normally you're pressing them for an answer.
Oh, I see
When
what
you
you're saying.
ask, you give them the option to not answer.
Right. Well, it's not like I know the man's one of the richest people on earth, but even he doesn't have the power to stop the shit China's doing, like at
Nope.
all. Like I don't expect him to like fucking do anything about it. I would definitely ask about how he can speak fondly of a country that does this, 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 and this, right? And that's coming from the same person, me, the person who like less than a couple of years ago thought we should overthrow the government and just live in a state of anarchy, in
Yep,
some kind of lock
that
state of
wouldn't work.
anarchy. Yeah, like I've clearly grown a lot since then, and I'm not a perfect human being either, which is why I would ask and not question, because I don't have a moral high ground to stand upon, at all.
Yeah. Here's how I like to think about it. What you have, we're playing Minecraft. You
Right.
have your preferred village. You like it. You keep everything nice there. What do you do to the rest of them?
Right. No, I understand the utilitarian reasoning completely
Now,
100%.
now imagine you're Elon Musk and the world is your Minecraft.
Right. I understand completely. And like I said, I understood the utilitarian argument and strategic argument from the get-go. Especially because depending on what the current administration does, how anti-business it gets, Musk could easily go to China and probably get to Mars faster if he
More than
did.
likely.
You said unlikely or more than likely?
More than likely.
Yeah, exactly. That might be his plan B.
Although he's going to send a whole lot more doomed astronauts.
Because China does not give a fuck if their shit explodes the first time. Like, at all. China's had, like,
Oh well.
a ridiculously larger amount of failed space experiments compared to us, haven't they? Them and North Korea.
North Korea has done about jack when it comes to space
Right.
because, well, their people aren't healthy enough to go up there anyway. China, in more recent years, has spent more time in space than we have.
Oh, really?
Yep.
That's stressful.
So, not particularly. Mostly satellites. They visited the moon, International Space Station.
Whoa. China visited the moon?
Mm-hmm.
Like, boots on the ground on the moon?
Yeah, I think it was within the last 5 years.
I don't remember that at all.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure
I
they
need
visited
to
the moon.
look this up. I need to look
They
this up.
visited a different part of the moon than, the part that is
Right.
ours.
Did China visit the moon? Chang 3 launched on the 2nd of December 2013 aboard a long 3B rocket, landed on the moon 14 December. It carried with it a 140 kilogram pound lunar rover named U2, which was designed to explore. Okay, no, they haven't had boots on the ground. They sent a rover.
They had boots on the ground in January 2019.
Well, that's not what my fucking internet says.
My internet says 2019.
The fuck, Apple? January 5th, historic robotic mission. It says January 5th, 2019 was also a robotic mission.
Does it?
Mm-hmm. And will probably send astronauts on lunar trips. They haven't done it yet. But they're doing it right now. They're going to return to the moon before we did.
They have persons on the moon.
They do or they don't?
Yeah, they did.
I don't think they have.
Try December 16th, 2020.
They've done it now?
I think so.
Let me keep looking. Let's try
China
this again.
brings moon rocks to Earth.
Does China have astronauts on the moon?
Yeah, they're...
Chang 4, which includes a land rover, was launched 7th December 18th. The 3rd of January 2019. South Pole Basin, far side of the moon. They're not. They don't got astronauts up there right now. And they haven't.
Well, not right now.
And they haven't. They haven't had... They haven't had astronauts walking on the moon.
Huh. There are all these pictures of...
Yeah, no, I see the pictures of Chinese astronauts on the moon. But there's also a bunch of people not wearing spacesuits.
On the moon.
Yeah, so no, they're not on the
Chinese
moon.
are faking their own moon landing.
The Illuminati code. God damn it.
That's where they're keeping Tupac. The moon.
Did you hear about the you hear about the Bohemian Grove thing Alex Jones did?
No.
Okay, you haven't heard of Bohemian Grove?
No.
Okay,
What
so
the fuck is that?
yeah, so Alex Jones, the crazy motherfucker that you can't trust with shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
He and a film guy snuck into this shit called Bohemian Grove, and literally all of the world's richest people and most powerful politicians had this weird ritualistic traditional ceremony where they burned this owl effigy, and he caught it all on
Okay.
camera. This is like public knowledge. You could look it up. And it's documented on tape, and they all basically said, "Oh, it's just a tradition thing. It's a secret society." And they just admitted to it.
Okay.
Yeah,
They're burning the owl to keep Mothman happy.
apparently, shit. But this is a real thing. This is a real fucking thing. I'm not making this shit up.
So is Mothman.
No, he's not.
Yes, he
Mothman
is.
is not. You believe in Mothman.
Mothman is definitely real.
I can't believe we didn't talk about Mothman on the fucking conspiracy theories episode. What even is Mothman?
You don't know what Mothman is?
No, I don't know what Mothman is.
Well, first of all, his favorite snack is lamp.
What? He eats lamps?
No, lamp with the sideways colon on top of the A.
The fuck is that?
Lamp.
What is lamp?
Oh God.
What's lamp?
Lamp. It's a lamp.
No, Mothman does not exist because he.
Mothman likes to eat lamp,
Okay.
and whenever Mothman appears, he foretells a disaster.
I've heard that before. I've heard of that, but I don't think Mothman's real because, like, what the fuck is Mothman? If he is real, like, it would have to be another species of
See,
something.
can I?
We'd see him all over the place.
Mothman.
Are you gonna send me a picture of Mothman?
Behold, a gif in the chat of Mothman.
Let me look in the Discord chat. That is the stupidest shit I've ever seen in my entire life. You enjoy Mothman too much. I gotta get Will RT or not RT. I gotta get Squilliam in here so he can teach me how to start bringing up the Discord chat.
Mm-hmm.
So I can start putting that on the podcast. So whenever we do links and shit, I can show the viewers. That would be cool if we did that.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Well, one of these days we could have a cryptid talk. I love cryptids.
Well, I want to talk about Wendigos right now. That's where I'm going with it.
Wendigos. I like Wendigos.
Exactly.
Although I don't think those are a cryptid. I just think those are crazy people that eat
Right.
other people.
We've had this conversation before. Before. I wholeheartedly believe in a Wendigo. I'm very open to what the fuck that could be, scientifically speaking. Right?
Well, it's been shown that if you eat people for a specific amount of time, the proteins create something called a prion, which fucks your brain up.
Yeah, you get like mad
and
cow
eventually
disease,
causes, basically,
right?
And it destroys your body, which can lead to endless hunger. Because the signals that normally control the fact that you should not eat things is making you eat things.
And
it can cause your body.
This happens in extended periods of cannibalism.
It can, yes. There's a tribe in South America that has
a similar effect.
A predilection to it.
You're talking about the Sentinelese, aren't you?
I believe so.
Right. I guess it's near Australia, not South America, but I do know what you're talking about. But
yeah,
we go off on these tangents. We do not explain enough shit. So a Wendigo, for those listening, is this like angry spirit kind of thing in Native American folklore, out west, kind of.
Not all Native Americans, and in fact,
it's specifically
Eastern.
the northeastern. I thought it was the Midwest,
northeastern
area.
Because the Potawatomi also have the Wendigo in their folklore.
That's Midwest, though.
We're never but we're in the East.
We are not in the East. We're in the Midwest. Do not say what state we live in, but we're in the Midwest.
It's that one state that's kind of close to the other one.
All right, we'll leave geography alone. In northern Native American folklore, there's this thing called the Wendigo, and in its tales, I'm mainly doing this for the viewership, not you, Cole, because I know you fucking know. We've had a similar conversation before when we were drunk and up too late on Xbox, but
I know all about the cryptids.
Right. We will have a cryptid episode. That's what we'll talk about next.
Oh boy.
We'll talk about that next time. What was I going to say? In times of famine, generally in dead winter, when Native American tribes would run out of their food reserves for the winter, basically, and mass starvation would set in, this creature called the Wendigo would, especially if cannibalism was committed by the tribe, the Wendigo would appear, and it's this large, morphologically like mixed with multiple animals type of predator, and it has a certain humanoid shape to it, but it's pretty fucked up looking. And
If for any of you who ever played Until Dawn, this main antagonist is a Wendigo.
but that's not anatomically how the Native Americans described it.
No, typically it had a deer skull,
Yeah,
long, lanky arms and legs,
it had deer
black,
skull and
blood-stained.
antlers,
Yep,
and it
black,
was yeah,
blood-stained claws.
and it generally didn't stop terrorizing these Native Americans until winter ended or until it ate enough people that it was happy, I guess.
Yep. And it could if you ate enough people as a normal person, you could become a Wendigo.
Yes,
Or a
yes.
Wendigo, there's a ritual you could do to turn yourself into a Wendigo by sacrificing a human to one and then eating the heart in front of it.
Yes. And yeah, that's
Don't
all
try this at
correct.
home.
I think the only way to kill a Wendigo is when it's subdued, like the bitch on fire. I think that's another thing. What else?
Technically speaking, you could kill its body, but not its spirit.
Right. Because a huge aspect of the Native American lore is that it's a spirit. It's not a physical morphological thing. Um, yeah, I think that mostly sums it up about how we were explaining it. But there is so much lore, and the natives are actually afraid of this thing to this day that I believe it to a certain extent. I don't know what it is.
And
I believe there's a scientific explanation to it, but I believe something like the fucking Wendigo exists.
it's definitely a very, very fucked up human.
Yeah. Cole here seems to think that it would be a type of mad cow disease, right? It'd
More
be
than
similar
likely.
to that, yeah. And it's where humans start cannibalizing each other. There's a bunch of things where it's described. I hear it on like those Reddit posts and shit all the time. Psychologists believe there's a cultural syndrome, Wendigo syndrome, in which when you have to commit cannibalism, you can basically go to sleep at night and be okay with yourself because you convince yourself that you're becoming a monster. So you're okay with what you've done. Because a lot of the time in these times of famine, it's yeah, ate your fucking kids or something, and that's fucked up. I'd want to convince myself I'm a monster if I did something like that too.
Yeah, but it's not going to happen if you eat people in the short term. Which don't try this at home, kids.
Please don't eat people.
No,
Um,
because there was recently someone from that plane that crashed up in the mountains a while ago of the soccer team. He came back out to talking about his experience of having to eat his friends to stay alive.
were they already dead?
Yes.
Okay, good. Well, I feel like this is evolution's way of basically saying we want you even if you have to cannibalize to survive long enough to reproduce, but we don't want you to survive long enough that this becomes the norm.
Your brain has multiple levels of with which it tells you something is okay.
Right. So
At the very
short-term
bottom,
cannibalism is okay for immediate survival, while long-term
most of the
cannibalism is not
time,
okay.
your brain won't even allow you to eat another person until it hits the point where you go to something called the lizard brain.
Yeah, where you get primal.
Your body literally is like, I will eat anything as long as it is edible.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah, that's fucked. But
Yeah.
and that's the most scientific reasoning behind it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know, man. Part of me, it's not that I inherently believe in spirits because I don't. I'm a pretty scientific man myself. But I don't know. There's something about that fucks with me a little bit. I mean, like this is a real abstract place I'm going with this. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Could belief in something make it manifest? I know
Are you
scientifically,
religious?
not really. I know scientifically that's like impossible. But isn't
No.
it kind of scary to kind of think that like
Self-fulfilling prophecy is a thing that exists.
I know that, but I mean to go so far that it spawns a living monster
Oh,
into the world.
no.
Right, right.
No.
That's very
No.
unlikely.
Not unless I won't. We'll talk about Warhammer another time.
Well, that's
But
that's a very similar concept to what I'm referring to. Very similar.
yep.
But that's still a type of magic.
Yeah,
It's
I
still
doubt.
not scientific.
I doubt
That's possible.
that that is a thing.
Right.
I can't tell you
Self-fulfilling
no
prophecies are definitely a thing, though. I know that
because
completely.
crazy shit happens. Like, I'm not talking televangelists, those crooks, but some people have gone mortally ridden with cancer and then gone into a church and believed hard enough that it just went away.
That, yeah, I've heard of that. I've heard of people affecting biological functions they shouldn't have any effect over through
Yeah,
just raw belief. That does happen.
will, in my opinion, is a very, very
Powerful thing.
strong force.
Yeah, definitely. I don't disagree with that. I think it's got limitations, obviously.
Everything has limitations.
Right.
The human mind is a prison.
What makes you say that?
Well, think about it this way. Your head keeps you from biting off your own fingers.
It does.
Yep.
Unless you can activate lizard brain.
So, which you can't consciously.
Not without almost starving to death.
Mm, correct.
Right.
And you can go the opposite direction. You have
Be too
Shaolin
civilized.
monks and shit who can literally puncture glass with a needle. People who have focused their will so hard that it has become human.
Right. No, yeah, I know what you're referring to. Have you heard of Tim Hoff before?
Yes.
Yeah, his breathing techniques that allow him to just do some of the craziest shit ever. He
Yep.
doesn't give a fuck. I tried the breathing techniques once. It does have immediate effects, but they're so time consuming that I don't fuck with it. To be totally honest, I just don't take the time out of my day to do that.
Yep.
But they're pretty crazy overall, I'm not gonna lie.
As long as you think it's helping you, typically it will.
Well, what's interesting about the Tim Hoff thing is because scientifically the way it's explained is through manipulating the amount of oxygen found within your living cells, you can do weird things. It has to deal with cellular regeneration, and it's quite interesting. It's scientifically sound. It's how he keeps. It's how not only he breaks all these biological records and stuff, but his disciples are doing it too.
Yeah, but the thing about that is oxygen is what keeps your cells going.
Well, he
It's
doesn't.
not what affects them for
Right.
your neural synapses. It's not what affects them for their actual
But
replication.
whatever his
It's
technique is
not-
what's stopping the cells from dying after he does this crazy shit. Stuff that could kill people he's doing. That's what's important to understand.
Okay, have you... Okay, you can... I hate to say it this way, but if you are going fast and you go past a rabbit, the shock itself can kill the rabbit.
Really?
Yep. So, if you think about your body in this way, your nervous system controls how all of your cells operate. If you go through enough mental shock, you can die.
Wow.
Now, go in the reverse and say that nothing is to shock you. You can damage your cells, but your body will act like nothing is happening. So
No, yeah,
chances are it has
I know
nothing...
cellular damage is happening, but no, he's definitely withstanding things physically he's not supposed to be able to withstand. And not at least
Correct.
get sick or have long lasting effects, and so are his students. and he's
Like
he's definitely
what?
unlocking levels of our biology that we're
Like
not
what
supposed.
in particular?
Physical feats specifically, I can look them up if you want. Give me a sec. Let me open up that trusty Google. What
Hey, goo goo.
physical feats have Tim Hoff achieved?
You didn't tell me that you had a slaying dragons one on here.
Well, it's not literally slaying dragons. It's more of a philosophical episode.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's a
that's
little less fun for
slaying
me.
dragons is a thing Jordan Peterson says. His feats include climbing Mount Kilimanjaro in shorts, running half a marathon above the Arctic Circle on his bare feet, standing in a
Mhm.
container while covered with ice cubes for more than 112 minutes. He says that our brains have the power to guarantee us happiness, strength, and health. What else has he done?
Mhm.
Dressed in nothing but shorts, Hoff finished in 5 hours and 25 minutes. Hoff holds the current Guinness World Record for the longest ice bath, now set at 1 hour and 53 minutes, 12 seconds. But it's not just cold. In 2011, he ran a full marathon in the Namib Desert without water.
Okay.
What the fuck was that? Oh, Atlas, you scared the shit out of me. Jeez. Got the place to myself for a week. He just like ran in my room and plopped on the ground. That scared the shit out of me. Huh. Okay, but yeah, so the without water thing totally just
No, that
yeah,
right there sounds
that's
fishy.
nuts.
Although it was only an hour.
Uh, hour and 53 minutes
Yeah, it's
in
only
12
2
seconds.
hours.
But
And he's
no
moving.
water running straight that entire time. I don't know,
So
man.
that depends. Did he load up? Did he load up before? There's all kinds of things.
Yeah.
Heat like that, if he only did that in shorts, he's still going to have sunburn. He's still going to have physical effects. All of the ice baths, chances are his cells haven't died because he hasn't gotten to hypothermia.
Well, that's what's cool about him. He can survive things. He can keep himself out of hypothermia way longer than normal human beings. Like way longer.
Hmm.
That's without a doubt something he's doing,
Can he
and his
keep himself
students.
out of hypothermia, or can he keep himself out of the ending effects of hypothermia?
I don't know. I'm not that
Because just
scientifically
because
sound
you
on it.
could withstand it doesn't mean that you're not suffering the ill effects. Because I think I know the guy you're talking about now, and whenever he ends these things, he's red from head to toe, which means there's cellular damage.
Well, I do agree that there'd have to be some damage to it, right? But he's still handling them and recovering from them and being just
Mm-hmm.
fine from them way more than humans should be able to do. I would say he's doing some crazy
Again,
shit.
this is a shock value thing. If you don't think you could do it, you won't be able to.
I don't know, man. He pushes himself so far that I think there's a certain level of impossibility to it.
Mm.
I know how far the
I still,
placebo effect can go, how far the mind can go. Believe me,
I
I
still
know.
think it's a will thing because you got to think about some of the crazy shit that's happened throughout human history.
Hmm. Here, I'm gonna deviate the subject matter a little bit. Let's.
Yes.
What? What's up?
I don't know. You go
Oh,
ahead. You're
okay.
talking.
We'll get near the end of the podcast soon because you're supposed to talk to Baron tonight, right?
Oh, Baron hasn't talked to me, so I assume he's sleeping,
Oh, okay. Never mind.
which is probably better off. Not to mention it's 10:30 and I have work tomorrow morning.
Okay, yeah. This will be the last thing we talk about. All right.
Yeah.
Getting a
We
little
can talk about
philosophical now
cryptids next
because this is
time.
what I like to talk about. Okay.
My nemesis.
What do you think the meaning of life is, Cole?
Oh.
I'm gonna start asking that to everybody when they're on the podcast.
Oh no. That depends. Are we talking about brain or the function of life itself?
Are you talking about biological function?
Yes.
That's to reproduce.
No.
Yeah, it
Life's
is.
function
No, not
The
all organic
biological.
matter. I mean humans. Human experience, Cole. Human
Oh.
only. What's the meaning of life?
Ah.
What
Gross.
philosophy keeps you going every day, dog?
Oh, I run off of spite.
you run
I'll
you
be damned if
you
anything in
run
this
off of
world but
pure
me takes me
hatred.
down.
That's amazing. I like that. That's a good answer. I'm gonna start asking this to everybody, for sure.
Hmm.
That's a good fucking answer. You run off of pure hatred for others.
It's not hatred, it's spite.
Okay,
There's a
what
difference.
is spite? Just like a snarky fuck
Spite?
you,
Okay, so imagine I got hit by a bus.
right?
I survived being hit by the bus.
It's to spite the bus.
I will now be laughing at all of the buses I passed because they failed to kill me.
That reminds me of not I didn't like the story very much, but you know that fucking book, The Fault in Our Stars.
Nah, I never read it.
Okay, so one of the main characters, it's the chick's boyfriend in it. He he survived cancer, like this really crazy should kill you cancer, and
Mhm.
therefore walks around with an unlit cigarette in his mouth all the time, as like spite of
Uh,
surviving the cancer, I guess.
okay,
Right.
I can understand that.
So that's something
Uh,
you'd do.
Just my very existence is spite for the real world.
Right. You know,
It's a wonderful life.
mine wasn't as snarky, but I ran on my resentment towards the world for a really long time when I was younger.
No, there's no point in
Definitely.
resenting.
Oh, I don't feel that way anymore.
The
I'm
world
pretty
is.
I am fairly in tune with the world on a regular basis, especially now that I've been older. But
That's
what's
that's how
not
you know the window ghosts haven't gotten you yet.
the what? Oh yeah, what hasn't clicked right and that I'm really on and off with is human society as a whole. Like sometimes I look at the ongoings of other human beings and I'm like, this is pretty cool. We're getting some pretty cool shit done here. It's cool that we can do this. And then other times I look at human society and civilization. I'm like, this shit's disgusting. Just send the meteor. I'm done. Noah,
Yeah.
get the boat.
Noah, get the boat.
Yeah, it depends.
Oh, that reminds me.
What?
Apparently, at the Ark somewhere, wherever that is, the one that they built as a replica of what Noah's Ark was supposed to be.
Right.
My cousin, who's a 12-year-old, went there and saw it. And he comes up to me and he's like, "Did you know dinosaurs were on the Ark?"
What?
And I just give him the look of, "Say that again?"
No, when Noah's Ark is thought to be dated to, that was like during the time of ancient Greece. There's no fucking dinosaurs.
Yes, there were no dinosaurs on that shit. But apparently, that's what he learned when he went to go see the boat. And I looked him dead in the eye and I told him no, and then he called me a dumbass. A 12-year-old called me a dumbass because I told him dinosaurs were not on the Ark.
Dinosaurs weren't in existence when that was supposedly built. You're off by a
Exactly!
million or so years.
I was even respectful of his religion, even though I'm non-religious.
Not only are you non-religious, I find you to be quite apprehensive towards religion, even when it's not in a governing sense. Because
I
like
don't like
me,
the title, but I like bits and pieces.
I don't like religion as a rule just when it's like governing people or like controlling people's lives, right?
Hmm.
Especially if it affects me, right? That's really when I will become apprehensive towards religion.
Yes.
But you're like religion time to snuff it out. I'm gonna kill it. That's what
I
you do.
mean,
You and
yes.
Anthony both are just so anti any kind of spiritualist
Well, that's.
faith. Like chill.
Uh,
I
I
said
run on
faith. I
a.
said faith. Remember that.
I run on a don't fuck with me and I won't fuck with you, and
That is not how our
Catholicism may.
personalization. That's
Ca-
not how our personal conversations
Catholicism
go.
has crossed that line.
Oh, I see. How has Catholicism crossed the line? We'll talk about this and then we'll be done with the episode.
Okay, so I was born a Catholic boy.
So was I.
Uh, I then realized, as I got older, that most of everything that exists has been fabricated in some fashion.
You mean everything taught in Catholicism?
Basically. The
Well,
Bible that's read is not the same Bible that was written.
right. And the one that was written that they say you can still go and read to this day cannot be translated correctly.
Correct.
Right. And on top of that, the original was also written by a human.
Yep. Which
Yep.
immediately means air.
Now you know how I feel about it. It's like I have spent enough time with human beings in my short lifespan of about 20 years, right? That I know without a doubt that shit's sus if it was written by another person. End of story. I just know it. That doesn't mean it's 100% a lie. It doesn't mean any of that. It just means it's sus. To not be suspicious of it means you have not spent enough time with human beings.
Anything?
Yeah.
I have put another GIF into the chat.
Let me take a look at it. Remember, our viewers can't see that. Next time we talk, I will have it figured out. Beats the shit out of a Wendigo. Okay, that one was funny. What's this? To err is human. Yeah.
Yes.
You're correct.
This movie is called The World's End, and it's wonderful.
I've watched it. It looks very funny.
Yep.
Next time we talk, I'll make sure I can bring up the Discord chat so that our viewership can see it.
Certainly.
That
There's
would
all
be
kinds
slick
of
as
things we
fuck.
could talk about next time. We have
Right.
cryptids available. I can talk about movies.
Me and Cole want to talk about cryptids next time. You want to talk about cinema in a future episode too?
Cinema, cryptids, basically whatever arrives.
Okay, sure. Let's schedule for cryptids next time.
Okay.
My dog is acting funky, and like I said, I'm home alone.
Probably has to go outside.
Yeah, I'm gonna go see what's going on. Thank you for being on this episode of the podcast. Go ahead and say goodbye to everybody.
Happy to. Bye-bye.
Goodbye. You take the moon. All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Just so everyone remembers.
What?
Spaceship.
Spaceship. All right. Bye, everybody.